Find this guy.
I'm gonna jump in Roche pit.
Of course.
I'm going soon. Kill the healing ward. We're gonna win. Okay, this is the last game. Juggernaut. What's my lane? Phoenix. 23, 27. Come on. We can win. Alright.
I am king now of all I survey.
This game late.
By the city to waste. Snatched it raw out of your mouth.
Patch took the banner.
Yeah.
I think he took the banner.
Yeah, he is. Tried to hook me.
Can kill if he comes.
Oh, I need help on 4
First blood on the sand strikes the perfect note. So you see.
I don't know why the patch is not buying mana. It's like griefing huge. Oh, you want last?
To battle.
Might have missed a lot of creeps, I'm not sure. Trying to greed up my life. I'm not. Oh! He got slowed, I think I got him. Okay.
I'm requesting help, guys, for 6 minutes run, please.
I will come to the rune.
Yeah, refills okay, refills okay.
I give you mana. Let's kill Wind Ranger when he comes. We can also kill SF, Epicenter. Storm, you have jump mana?
No one mana, but we can try.
Well and good.
We can kill guys.
It's not magic, just good old-fashioned skill.
You have new? Can you E? E me?
Oh my god, you're so fucking good, guys.
Owning.
Good, Jack, you have more TP, no?
No. Let's do SF, brother. Shark is a really bad game.
More than right.
I'm still going SF. Can kill the patch on the way. Yes, we're coming. Can fight.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Let's go. I can tank. Give you mana in it. We can go, we can go.
Go fight.
Oh my god, he hit me with the power shot. He hit me with power shot.
The sand only goes where the wind directs it.
He's bad.
I guess we see them, guys. I'm coming.
They probably see us too.
Kill the ward, kill the ward. I'm zero resources.
That's stunning free. Clutch is owning. Lotrick, thank you for subscribing. Let's go. Step.
Your top tower is under attack.
A windfall.
Make sure you're alone. Yes, Arcade, keep him there.
Knockers. I have long zip, but
As I thought.
Yeah, he dies. I'm going.
I'm busy.
Nice. He used PK, be honest. It's very good. 10 seconds epicenter, we can fight if they go in.
can you use?
They smoke, they
support
smoke,
this?
they smoke.
I grow a
No,
great
they don't, but not the tradition.
They smoke top. Can we...
The rush.
Let me go in.
I can jump first.
I find this guy.
I'm gonna jump in Roche pit.
of course.
I'm going soon. Get the healing word. Oh dude, come on.
I'm out, guys. I have no HP, no
I
mana.
can refill bottle.
I'll take rune box. Fine.
Can I help? Can I help?
Gorosh, Gorosh.
I'll heal up.
The clutch last game. Let's go, let's go. My sandstorm deals damage.
Visibility.
It could have been a meta game for...
I wanna take.
Can we catch top? Catch.
Mortality is mine.
Here. No BKB.
I don't have that much mana.
Ah, he's dead.
We're not going any. I missed the mark.
Nice.
Radiant structures are fortified.
We fight here.
We have good vision.
Okay, back off.
Guys, don't let him.
Okay, go back. Wyvern bot back. That's very good. Oh, hello. Dead,
He's
I
into
think.
my damage.
Wyvern can heal.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Keep going.
I'm low mana.
Oh, okay.
I wanna take active rune.
Yeah. What is he doing? What is he doing? I mean... Yeah, Orchid.
No jump. Yeah, go now. Go now.
I'll give you mana. Nice. Keeping Wyvern.
He's low HP.
Yep. Next, can you... Whatever. Nice.
I can pull.
Has been killed.
Ward. Yeah, ward here. This is warded. I don't wanna go. Guys. SF is
Back.
Back up, please.
Get back.
I have nothing.
Yeah,
Just go back.
we go back. It is okay. Get the neutral item. I didn't know we got the D-word.
The ward died here. We didn't kill it.
Okay.
She's shot.
I have ulti. Kill Jug. Oh, I didn't get Lotus? What? I guess he... Nice. Okay, that was an accident. Happy accident. They were actually all there.
Does he have BKB?
That was pretty crazy. I
No
think...
BKB,
No,
not
SF used.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Are they in? Wait, too bad. Oh god.
Tower is under attack.
Easy. I'm out.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Okay. That's done. Have I? Okay, I'm actually not out. I actually thought I'm out. Okay, they have a lot of stuff. Should have probably played a little safer there. Just kill him twice. Let's try to focus the rest. He hexed himself with SF.
No curse.
I don't have thing. Waiting BKBs. Easy. Take it easy.
Don't hit.
Holy shit, it's fucking one hit, guys.
He's stressing out a little.
Yeah.
Why? I have no blink dagger. Sorry, sir. I blink the shop. Why is he sweating? It's okay. Stop sweating. Easy game.
Dire's turret has been the enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
Chill. Chill, boys. What are they doing?
Can we hit Rex?
We can. I eat. We are doing it. Last game. They're doing it. They're doing it. No. I'm so sorry. Grimshark is keeps getting OP. GG, easy game. We did it! Enormous Rat, thank you for subscribing. Oh, just one game shy of. Wait, was it? One game shy of 50-50, almost 50-50 on win rate. Alright. Dude, I thought this game is a lot easier, but it really wasn't. I think we like screwed up really bad after the start we had. Like, honestly here. Like, it was here or something? We just started dying on the map. And it ended up pretty bad. People got a bit too excited about the, like, how good of a start we had. Like, next stream I would like to kind of come with conclusions what we did last 50 games with tanking. Kind of try to broaden the idea of how to play this hero. Maybe people like, maybe people wanna learn a bit more, not just watch. And hopefully I can bring some kind of stuff that could help you. Can explain a bit when to decide to use quick cast. I mean, almost every spell I'm very used to using quick cast. I also recommend to get used to it because it's faster in general. It just makes playing reactionary or reactive, however you want to call it. It makes it easier, and you can basically you can transfer the extra clicks you do when you don't use quick cast make it feel really slow sometimes. How you press spells. Let's say you press play Skyrat. Like, honestly, this hero is almost impossible to play without quick cast in my opinion, because there's just too much clicking happening. So if you couldn't do it, then it's gonna. You basically press 4 spells at the same time, and without quick cast you're gonna cast the spells a lot slower. So yeah, I definitely recommend using it. It's a huge buff. It's I think it's almost wrong to play without it. This is really hard combo to pull out without quick cast, in my opinion. You make it a lot easier for yourself when you have quick cast. It just significantly boosts the speed you use your spells. So basically what I initially, when I started doing the whole stream, I thought of like, what could possibly be the basically free stuff for anybody to see was the idea. And not have a paywall in a way where people have to like pay to get something something they want to learn about. And so basically YouTube is that also in a way. So yeah. Okay, Sand King. What you skill is very significant on Sand King. So you're pondering between Burrow Strike and Caustic Finale. Some games I think Sand King like just straight up loses the lane, and some lanes he's very likely to like straight up be very strong. And that's because of this spell either works or it doesn't work at all. That kind of makes a difference.
The battle begins.
If you're facing range heroes, specifically, I mean I'm only talking about Caustic Final right now, is you're actually thinking of skipping it. And what I personally would do and would recommend highly is go 1-2-0 build. For sure, you always want to Barrow Strike on your second skill, but I don't think there is any lane where you go Sandstorm into Caustic Finale unless it's some 1 versus 1. But we're not gonna go there. What you do on lanes most likely is you hope for a very good block, and then the only thing you do is you wanna kill creeps as fast as possible, because when you bring them low, you obviously get the benefit of the Caustic Finale. This can be very obvious for people, but actually you straight up right click lane. You wanna push the lane all the time. So you have to start off by just literally right clicking a creep. That's your lane instead. That's how it starts. Now let's talk about Burrow Strike. So Caustic Finale is basically the do or die kind of thing. It either works or it doesn't. Burrow Strike more so during laning stage. This spell is very hard to use, in my opinion. If you stun at the wrong time, you're gonna die. If you look at this hero's stats, we have 2 armor, 290 movement speed. We are really slow compared to most safe lane cores. So what you wanna do with this spell is you wanna use it at times where the enemy doesn't actually get to go on you, or the enemy just dies straight up. It's either. So basically, I mean, if they're dead, they can't really go on you. And to do that is we want to harass them with Caustic Finale before we burrow. And a good way to do both of them same time is you prepare your creeps very low. And then when they are very low, then obviously all of them explode at the same time. And this, when you get the enemies low enough, they can't really do the go on you, which allows us to use Burrow Strike. But like honestly, this spell, when it's a hard lane, it's actually more of an escape, more than aggressive tool to stun people. So please be mindful for how you use it. I think Sandstorm is pretty self-explanatory. You press W and you are doing damage. I don't think there is much to this spell. The better players you play against, people buy dust right now on the lane, and there is like no counter to enemy buying dust, so I don't think this is very relevant in the laning stage most games, because people should know what you do on the lane if you press W. It's not like the invisible is making you invincible, it's actually just making you do damage, and that's basically it. You're doing 20 damage. So there's basically 3 different kind of lanes for you. There's actually not more than that, I think. The first one is it's the lane where you get to keep the enemy low HP and they actually can't do much about you. It's the lanes that you win. And you obviously prefer those lanes, but it's not what you always need. And what you wanna do on these lanes where you win is you wanna push the pressure up. So what this means is you're itemizing for things that boost your laning stage. So let's say we have Lina Sand King versus Wraith King Warlock, for example. I think the ideal choice of items to pressure the lane could be mana boots, because your Lina benefits from the mana, and so do you. And what mana boots also gives is we can basically just keep stunning on the lane over and over, and there's no real counter parry if your body is ready. But I'll talk about more of the items later. When you have this kind of lane, make sure to communicate it to your boy, so whoever you're laning with, because they will play according. Like let's say if you say that this is a winning lane, they might understand that, okay, what do I do on a winning lane, and that maybe means that, well, we can start off by poking this camp, and then we just right click the enemy and use our spells, and then you win the lane. and then you pull big camp, potentially, for example. Now this is the winning lanes. Let's talk about the second. So it's kind of the middle ground where you trade farm. This is the lane where you buy the Vanguard or something. You don't care about denying really, you're just looking to make your own items, your Blink Dagger, etc. Because that's gonna be where the game happens. The game is not gonna happen on these 50-50 lanes. It's kind of like nothing happens on the lane and then there's no reason to try to win the lane, then you're just farming. And then there's the lanes where it's really difficult to go on the lane. You can't really Burrow Strike, you can't really Caustic Finale. What you want to do on these lanes is you're looking to do this wave pulling as early as possible. I would say it's when you have level 2 Sandstorm, so level 3 potentially, 1-2-0 skill build. And when you get to do this, you want to make sure that you get as much as possible with very little feeding, basically. And these lanes, they can be rough because enemies like to focus on you because you're already like such a useless scorpion. And then it's nice to kill the useless scorpion because hey, he's so easy to kill. But what they don't understand is you're already having a very hard lane, and shutting down the Sand King more might actually not be as helpful. But obviously, if you get to pull creeps, it's good to stop if you play against Sand King yourself. On these lanes specifically, you just want to make sure that you somehow manage to be able to pull this wave, and the easiest is when you get to place these wards like this one, like somewhere here. So you see rotations, people trying to kill you, making sure that you're pretty easily just doing this pull. I can just do it here once. So what you usually do is you go for this camp, because it's the best camp, easiest, closest camp. And if you have Caustic Finale and you do this wave pulling, by the way, always hit the small creeps, because the enemy support can't really zone you out, because you take a lot of damage from applying Caustic Finale and then killing the creeps. So they actually can't fight you back. That's why creep pulling on the 0 is very strong. Also, when you do this wave cutting, you really want to have boots. It's kind of a must in a way, so you actually rush boots over any region item. And it will, if you have boots before their supports, it's likely to benefit you very heavily on being able to like, so what's gonna happen is the carry might pull the wave here and he wants to connect, and if you have boots you're really fast and they can't really do it. Or the carry kills the wave really fast, pulls it to tower, and the carry wants to like, if he sees you farming this with his creep wave, he wants to stop you, obviously. And the support has a dust, so if you don't have boots you're gonna be having pretty tough time. You can't buy a Ring of Health, for example, if you're doing this. It's actually not good. Okay, that's basically the 3 types of early laning stage. So the one that you're winning, the one that you're doing 50-50, and the one that you're losing. They're pretty obvious most of the time. There is not like yeah, I don't think there is much of a question which kind of lane it is usually. After like playing 3 minutes on the lane, you kind of know what's gonna happen. I personally buy triangles when I know I will have a very hard game. I can't buy any other region items, like Ring of Health. It's basically like a poor man's Ring of Health in a way, having triangles. And I think that's pretty easy. Pretty easy way to understand the item. But yeah, that's how you should treat the boots. Lastly, and probably the most importantly about the boots, like Travels is the best item on this hero, or the second best item. I mean, it's between Blink Dagger and Travels. I'll go later why Travels is good for especially how the mid game plays out. But why it's so good on this hero is because you get this movement speed, and it's very significant in this hero for surviving later when you stun people, etc. But it's gonna help you split push massively. It's gonna help you connect to your team, which is very crucial on this hero because you're like a team fight weapon in a way. Your team has basically a nuclear bomb, and you want to have the nuclear bomb in where the 5 heroes is of the enemies, of course, because that's your hero. Yeah, so I think the spells that Sand King has very much dictates what kind of a hero this is, because honestly, what does this hero do? So we have Epicenter, we have like huge burst, but we need channel time for that, and then we have a stun. That means that we are basically a killer every 2 minutes, and obviously this does a lot of damage. And most heroes can't really stand this damage plus 1 hero. Usually it's like 1000 damage and people just die. So what this means is that we wanna be off map, because off map as much as possible, because every time we manage to do that, the enemy can feel like they're gonna die somewhere around the map, and that's the kind of threat you wanna be on the map. And then obviously if they're not respecting what you are, then you just kill them. That's basically it. And buy travels first on every hero. Yes. But yeah, why especially on this hero is because this spell lets you farm very freely and without being really threatened to kill. Because catching Sand King is very difficult. As soon as you have travels, you're like here, you sandstorm, they try to smoke on you, you see the smoke because you have the creep wave, then you're like stun here, potentially, or you can even epicenter just for damage, or you can just TP out. You have a lot of options. Main thing about mid game, side lane push, very important. It is the single most important role. It's basically your job. You're hired as a side lane pusher into the game, and if you're not filling out that role, then you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. I think you shouldn't be pushing these mid waves. You shouldn't be sandstorming here. It just leaves you very weak. You can't really do this. People just either they don't care because you're here in the middle lane, and usually the enemy, the big targets don't play around mid. So mid players and safe lane carries don't usually play around mid very much because of the guy pushing the mid lane is it's kind of risking his life to push the wave. And as a core or mid lane and safe lane, you usually don't want to risk your life pushing waves too much. So we want to be following the enemy mid lane and carry because they're the bigger targets, and stopping them farming is basically our job. Prioritize pushing waves. Really, like if the wave is here, like if now that the creep wave is here and I was here, like if I would be farming this neutral camp, I'm like being such a dork in a way. Honestly, just keep pushing these side lanes because it's gonna give your teammates vision on the map. It's gonna make the enemy feel like they're gonna miss farm when the creep wave is here, and it's gonna allow you to farm the neutral camps now, if you want to farm. Another role you have in the game is camping your teammates. So this is priority 1, then everything else is priority 2, so getting your own farm, or sitting behind your carry, pushing mid wave, or whatever. That's basically your secondary job. You're like a security guard. It's your second job. You're getting paid 20 euros an hour for the security guard job, but then the side lane push thing is giving you more, and you have more hours to spend there. What else to focus on mid game a lot is itemization. So initially I talked about mana boots, and why mana boots can be very good is because this energy booster can be used on a lot of items. And there's particularly one item that usually keeps happening in the game where what is really good is this item. Why this item is really good is because the base stats are very beneficial. So mana regen on this hero is really good, obviously. But this armor, so getting 10 armor on this hero is massive. This hero doesn't really get armor from anywhere else than this item. Unless you buy some solar crest or whatever, but I don't think this hero wants to do that most often. And if you click your teammates, then you don't have the armor anymore. You wanna buy Blink when you need people to set up stuns for themselves. Your team needs people to set up stuns. So let's say you have Lestrak mid, then it's pretty good to go Blink Dagger because you're setting up his stun. Let's say you play with Phantom Assassin in your team, then most likely it's pretty good to go Blink Dagger because you're setting up a kill. It can sound very simple, but sometimes you actually can't get these stuns without Blink Dagger, so you kind of need it. Another reason to buy Blink Dagger is there is an enemy target, let's say saving support, that you have to kill, and nothing else makes you reach the enemy support except Blink Dagger. And let's say it's Oracle, for example. The early team fights, you actually just lose the Oracle if you don't get to kill him, because the Oracle is such a strong hero. So yeah, I mentioned briefly that if you're about to lose your lane, or you do like 50-50, you shouldn't invest into trying to win the lane as much, and more so just itemize for the game. And what does itemizing for the game mean? It's usually Blink Dagger, because it's one of your core items, and there's barely any games where it's not good.
Your middle tower is under
That's something you wanna go as fast as possible, because as soon as you have Blink Dagger, you're almost always getting solo kill somewhere.
middle tower
It's
is
somewhere
under
in the map,
attack.
and you kinda have to find it. But that's how you get back to the game. You're not getting back to the game by trying to squeeze in 5 CS on the lane by buying bottle and boots and braziers. You're going to win the game by setting up bigger goals, like killing the enemy carry when he's farming or something. I show you guys this game.
The battle begins.
So I don't think, first off, that we should be having such an easy time on the lane, but yeah, they have fudge support and it can go usually pretty bad. So I'm not gonna talk about the early laning stage, that goes a bit too specific. So we're winning the lane, Jagger died, we're winning CS pretty hard. I buy mana boots because we're winning the lane, of course. Very straight up stuff. Jagger dies again. And so Jagger is pretty screwed. He has basically nothing. I have to think for the game that what does my teammates like? How can they have a better game now that I have a better game? Or how can I basically make this game easier to win? Also, this hero is really good against Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend obviously doesn't have a stun, so whenever we get to stun him, he's just dead. That's also another thing, just for this game specifically. So yeah.
Tower is
Any
under
reason to
attack.
put 2 points in Caustic Final early? Nope. This spell doesn't really scale. It's pretty bad. Level 1 is really good. That's about it. So far we have gone that early on we have 3 different laning phases, kind of. So one that we are winning, one that we are doing 50-50 and we are like in itemizing for the game, and one that we are losing and we're just trying to grasp everything we can into trying to turn our gold into Blink Dagger, because that's the way back to the game. Then we also talked about mid game, where split pushing, our pushing side lanes is basically the job of SK, and then threatening to kill on with these pushing waves. Also, it allows us to move across the map to our team and to other places. Once we got into the later game, what we should be having is a good understanding how we should fight. That's, I think, the main thing about late game with this hero. So all we are doing is, like, I would say 80% of your time, just think about, or at least give it a good thought of how you wanna fight this game. So if you fight it in a wrong way, it can look really hard to fight. Let's say you epicenter an enemy hero that has a BKB and he doesn't die, and instead he just presses BKB after your epicenter, and instead you're just dead, then honestly it can look really hard to play this hero. And I think usually at that time you have to reflect on what you did wrong, because most likely you didn't do the right thing. And so later in the game you should have items that benefit the way you wanna fight or take the fight. It can be, this is probably the hardest thing you have to do with this hero. And the way you usually fight, in my opinion, is kind of the hit and run style, where you go in and you stun like two heroes like this. We can put massive axes here. We are like stunning two heroes, and then we are doing everything we can to survive, so we can do this again in 15 seconds. This is our life in later team fights. So whatever helps us do this usually makes us very annoying in the team fight. So what we can do is we're buying just these items, and suddenly we're literally a stun bot, just stunning people, and they can't kill us. There's literally no way of catching this guy. I don't think you should itemize for damage as much, because your role in the game is not to like do that in a way. Your role in the game is to use this spell and abuse it to the maximum. This is the best spell of the hero, for sure. And anything not getting to use this, it's gonna feel really underwhelming. And how you wanna make this spell even better, basically. So that's why this Octarine build is, for example, really good. And that's why I don't like the damage builds, because they only benefit your epicenter and you're relying on this spell heavily. But this spell actually starts to be less of a thing later to the game, and it's more about just this spell. So level 20 you have this talent. This is really late game talent, but it shouldn't be overlooked by any means. So right now when I have Octarine, for example this build, I have 6.8 seconds stun, cooldown stun. So it gets pretty ridiculous. So if we stun there and then we stun again, like honestly it's just too good. This is also really good, this Aghanim's, because what it allows us to like stun in the blink, it always lets us stun for free basically. And that's exactly what we want to do. So I think this is even better. If this is the type of scenario what you want to create. So you should really look to buff your Burrow Strike. And I think you wanna think less of the epicenter. Late game is usually much more about just getting the right stuns in the fight at the right times. And I think it's for you to like figure out which heroes you should stun first. or at what time. So if there is an enemy frontliner in the front, you might just want to stun him once just to proc their BKB, for example, because our hero hates BKB. We don't want the enemy to have BKB. Or you might just like epicenter in the stun. Then he presses BKB right after this, but we didn't even intend to kill him. We just wanted to make sure that he presses BKB so he can't fight against us later in the fight. So yeah, late game is all about setting your goals right for the team fight. That's honestly what this hero strives on, and that's what we should be using most of our time figuring out. Everything else is more about just autopilot on farming, and yeah. So late game was about the team fight. What should we focus on? We should really think hard what we should do. Then keep in mind the hit and run team fighting, and identifying the weaknesses and strengths of so basically the strengths of your team fight and the weaknesses of the enemy team fight. And then you should really pay attention to your itemization. You're not gonna carry the game. Don't have the mindset of carrying the game. And make sure that you're able to like be the most supportive for your team as possible. So itemize towards that. I hope you guys learned something through this process, because I think most of the times we play these games and we forget to reflect on what we did or what we should do or what we could have done, and we kind of run on this autopilot of keep queuing. And I think most of us can heavily benefit from trying to reflect on what we are doing on daily basis, and I think it can hugely improve everybody's game if you look back on what you did wrong or what you could have done better or what you did really good, and try to like be conscious about what you're doing, why you're doing, what kind of goals you should have in your game, and what should you actually keep in mind, because honestly these Dota games can be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff. So we really want to simplify things for ourselves. Otherwise it's really hard to play this game. It's honestly impossible. Every single pro player is doing it because there is just too much to grasp. Too much to grasp, and I think you should do it too if you wanna be better at this game. And honestly, if you have any questions about what I said previously about the early game, mid game, or late game, feel free to ask now. Can you replace Blink with Force Staff as escape mechanism? So why you buy Blink Dagger initially is because it enables your epicenter. Force is kind of niche. Blink has a lot more range, which makes it a lot more easier for you. And Blink allows you to position your hero very specifically, so you get multiple hero stuns. So I wouldn't ever go for Force Staff instead of Blink, I think. So I think Sand King can be picked just to win the lane. So you have a position 4 that's really aggressive, like the Lina, etc. Lion, I think, can also work very heavy. The Grimstroke, all those. And the Sand King kind of amplifies the pressure even more, especially against melee heroes. So you should really look at the matchup, and if you are winning the matchup by automatic in a way, then I think it's almost always good Sand King game. I don't think there's exactly a bad Sand King game then, because you're such a fast farmer from offlane, and you can snowball off just by having a really good laning stage, and your team is very happy for having a guy that blinks in and stuns and makes life easy. How about talents and neutral items? So I think Sand King talents are pretty simple, in my opinion. I think the 15 talent is always Sandstorm DPS. 20 is always Burrow Strike cooldown. Almost. Oh, I think I've never picked this because I just think the Burrow Strike cooldown is so good. This one is more about the game. So if the enemy has BKB cores, you might lean towards this one. And if you see more space for pressing epicenter, I think this is insane against heroes that don't have a magic immunity. Let's say you play against Phantom Lancer. I think this is crazy. I don't know how Phantom Lancer can play the game when you get to 25 if he doesn't have MKB. This one is like the hardest talent. I've always taken the epicenter damage, but I might be wrong about it. I just feel like the extra burst I've gotten from the 20 epicenter damage, it feels like it has been good choice most games. But I can see that the 200 health is very good talent also. Can you briefly recap item progression? So there's a lot going on there. It's a bit hard to recap because everything kind of there's a lot of moving factors, moving pieces. But yeah, you're thinking of boots. If you're winning your lane, most often buy mana boots or bottle. If you wanna pull waves, buy boots. If you're playing like a 50-50 lane, itemize towards getting your farm on the lane. That could be a ring of health. That could be bottle. That could be triangles. After that, most often you buy blink dagger. Blink. I think if you bought the mana boots, then if you thought about the game a bit and you see that it's a good Lotus Orb game, I would kind of recommend going mana boots because you're gonna split the arcane boots into the Lotus Orb, of course, like this. Because this item is really good. But please identify that it's actually a good Lotus Orb game. Don't just buy it randomly. Usually I don't buy Lotus Orb after Blink, I buy Yules. Yules is really good on this hero. Gives you movement speed, gives you the ability to cycle on yourself, which is very helpful. And buys you time surviving, etc. You have problem against ensnares, this item can help you. Okay, I think we covered a good amount of questions. So about this, like why I'm doing this conclusion is more so just trying to reflect back on my days of playing this hero. I also learned a lot by just vocalizing this stuff. I recommend you doing the same if you have a certain hero you want to play a lot. Let's say you have played 100 games of Templar Assassin, like Wagamama probably. I think he has done a lot of reflective work back to his old games and been thinking that what he could do better, what he has been doing is great, and what could potentially be something that he could improve on. And I really recommend everybody doing the same because learning this game, like, you can do it by playing, but if you forget to do the reflective process, you might actually just end up banging your head to a wall for a long time, and you don't really understand why you're not getting better. But if you keep like thinking of what kind of goals you have in the game, or what kind of itemization I should be doing this game, or how should I play this team fight, etc., it's gonna massively improve your understanding of the bigger picture of the game, aligned to the hero you're playing. So definitely do some reflective work if you have the interest and time to getting better at the hero you play. So I've at least I feel like I've been able to do that with this 50 games. But yeah, I hope we can provide this in YouTube in a more easier way to digest. I think me just talking, it can leave the impression that it's hard to follow what I'm talking about. So what I'm hoping that what can be done in YouTube is that there is like a little bit of summary of the concepts about what I've been talking about, and perhaps that helps you guys digest what I just had said. Yeah, that's my hope.